First, a moment of silence so I can clear any noise from the background check. Clear my throat. Get ready to rock and roll here. Can always trim that away when I'm ready. In post, what they call it. Okay. Happy Thanksgiving. Today is Thanksgiving Day, November 23rd, 2023, and it's about 6:30 in the morning here in Henderson, Nevada. So I had a pretty good night's sleep, and I'm really looking forward to the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. I love to watch the parades and the bands, but mostly I love the Rockettes when they do their high leg kicks, and then the conclusion of the parade when Santa Claus arrives and it's officially the holiday season. I always love watching the Macy's Day Parade. Thanksgiving was always a major holiday event for the Keys family. Probably Thanksgiving more so than Christmas in my mind because of the fantastic dinners that my dad would cook. A turkey, yams with marshmallows on top, mashed potatoes with just the right amount of butter in the mashed potatoes, which leads to a family story I'll tell in a minute. And all the family there in their assigned places around the table, and the blessing, and carving the turkey with such ceremony, and perfectly steamy, juicy meat, and pecan pies and pumpkin pies that Karen would make. Oh, my mind just floods with the sights and sounds and smells and taste of it all. The happy faces of everybody dressed up really nice too. So let me go back now to a time in 1957, and I don't know the date, but it was before my brother Beamer was born, when my parents, my dad and my mother, dressed in evening clothes, carried me into Cooper's nursery in Pensacola, Florida, and handed me over to one of the lady attendants who put me in a baby bed. I was old enough to stand up and hold on to the edge of the baby bed, and I cried as I watched my parents walk out the door. My mother was wearing a turquoise blue dress. That was before November 1957, so I was just over 2 years old, but I had become sentient, self-aware in that memory. And later, probably during that summer, I very distinctly remember squatting down in my grandmother's hen house, wearing a diaper, and that was all, so it was warm, and my mother calling me, "Bobby Keys, come out of there." Again, before my brother Beamer was born. And I do definitely remember when he was born, or shortly thereafter, because he was still in a bassinet. And my mother and my grandmother Erie were standing there talking in the house in Brentwood Park. And I was trying to climb up on the edge of the bassinet, and they were telling me, no, Bobby, get down. I distinctly remember how tall they looked from my perspective. But so I was very aware of 1957, especially Thanksgiving that year. Now my grandparents had a turkey, and me being 3 years old, running around, I remember that turkey being almost as big as I was, 3 years old, and a full-grown turkey about the same height, and that thing terrified me. To this day, it was a monster, and I was running away afraid of it. And I remember my dad pinning that turkey's head to a block in the backyard and decapitating it for Thanksgiving of 1957. And I remember that turkey on the table, cooked in 1957. And I remembered practically everything since those early moments and memories. and they really revolved around Thanksgiving. So yes, I love Thanksgiving. Even now, by myself, I get up with the anticipation of turkey and dressing. So what is it about those mashed potatoes? Years later, somewhere 1999, I think, 97, 98, somewhere along in there, before I married Gloria. So this was from the time I got to Chicago in 96 until I married Gloria in 99, so in that range there. I went down to Pensacola for Thanksgiving. My dad was living at Frank Reeder Road, so maybe that'll help date this too. And I was watching Dad mix the mashed potatoes in this aluminum pot with a wooden handle that I had seen my entire life. Churning the mashed potatoes with a masher and Alan watching. Alan and my dad got into an argument, not really, a tit for tat between Dad and Alan about how much butter to put in the mashed potatoes. Alan wanted to put a little bit more, and my dad was sure he had done it just right. And I was sitting there listening to them go at it back and forth, and I was laughing my ass off. And I think they both knew how funny I found it and how ridiculous they seemed about it. And now it's a story that I tell Alan every year, and something I remark at, like at Thanksgiving, to make sure now you put the right amount of mashed potatoes, butter in those mashed potatoes. It's a funny story to me. So Thanksgiving. Today, I'm 68 years old for the moment, and there's no way I could eat an entire turkey by myself, or all the fixings to go with it. And over the years, I've scaled back to maybe just doing a turkey breast. I did Cornish game hens one year, and still, it's just too much effort for the food that I can't eat. So this year, I'm going to Golden Corral, of all places, for $18 a plate, and have Thanksgiving cooked by somebody else in the midst of a bunch of strangers. So even though my life circumstances has removed me in time and place from family, I'm still going to remember that big old turkey in Grandpa's backyard, its head flipping off that block into the yard. And quite frankly, I never did find that head in the yard because I went looking for it after that. Grandpa's table, Grandma, Beamer, Karen, Debbie, one year Phyllis and her family. So it was always a really happy family time. So even though I may be here this year doing Thanksgiving alone, I still have a family, and I'm still back in 1957. In 1997, I think that's probably the year. And probably around 2007, the last time I saw my mother, when they came to see me in Romeoville, and they stayed with me that year. So Thanksgiving's a family time for me. And as long as I got a cup of coffee, and even slight glaucoma now, sentience still persists since I was 2, Thanksgiving's always going to be the happiest day of the year to me.